Welcome. How are we doing today? My name is Tyler Nowotny, and today we're going to talk about solving the retirement puzzle and all of the various things that comes along with retirement. That's taxes, Social Security, investing, all of that fun stuff. I am a fiduciary advisor and an enrolled agent. I've been in the financial industry for 8 years now, it'll be 9 years in June. A fiduciary is someone who is legally obligated to act in the best interests of their clients. So I passed my Series 66. I hold myself to a fiduciary standard. I am an enrolled agent. What does that mean? It means that I am enrolled to practice before the IRS. I am allowed to defend my clients in tax court. To achieve that designation, I had to pass 3 examinations on the Internal Revenue Code administered through the IRS. The reason we're all here today is because retiring today looks different. There are many uncertainties. There are many things you may not know, may not understand, but there are also many things that are changing. We're going to talk about Social Security, taxes, investing, the whole shebang. So, Social Security. A little bit of history of Social Security. It hasn't been around for the entire history of the United States. Social Security was passed in the backdrop of the Great Depression. So 1935, Social Security Act is passed by Congress with the intention of it being implemented in 1940, which it was. There's a little bit of a misunderstanding about Social Security. I'm sure you have all heard about the full retirement age. The full retirement age is neither the earliest you can take Social Security nor the latest you can take Social Security. The earliest you can take Social Security is at age 62. The latest you can take Social Security is at age 70. Age 67 is just used as the baseline. That used to be age 66 and 10 months, 66 and 8 months, and way back it was age 65. There's some talk about raising that again. When we see minimum age 62, that's based on using full retirement age as a baseline. So if you take Social Security age 62, you get 70% of whatever that number on your Social Security estimate is for what you would have received at 67. So just using basic math, if you would have received $1,000 at age 67, but you choose to take it at age 62, instead you're getting $700 a month as opposed to that $1,000 a month. You also see age 70 there, it's 130%. That is 130% of whatever amount you would have received if you instead chose to take it at age 67. There is a cost of living adjustment every year on Social Security. It really varies. Last year it was 2.5. This year it's projected to be in the ballpark of 2.8%. Now that's based on an arbitrary index. Most of you watching today probably are going to say there's no way inflation was at 2.5% last year. Again, the adjustment is made based on an arbitrary index. If certain expenses are going up higher than the inflation adjustment, is that going to be enough for you over the years? Is your Social Security going to be enough to pay your expenses as inflation goes up? Why planning is so important. So we're going to have Ron and Nancy. Ron's 60, Nancy's 58, Ron dying at 85, Nancy dying at 90. And what we're going to do is use 3 basic examples of how much will they receive based on that life expectancy if they were to take it at 62, at 67, and at 70. So you can see here at age 62, it's a little over $1.9 million over the course of their life. You can see here at age 67, they would receive $2.3 million over the course of their lives. And then if they take it at age 70, that's almost $2.6 million. Now, this is a very simplistic approach. What's the problem with all this? For one, we're assuming that they both live to 85 and 90, which we hope they do, but we don't know that they will. We also are not given any information about Ron and Nancy's financial situation. We don't know if Ron and Nancy will need to take Social Security at age 62. Some people do. We also don't know about their unique personal situations. Maybe they've been working so hard, they just want to call it quits. they don't want to work anymore. So they're like, you know what? We just want to retire. On the flip side, maybe they really enjoy their job and they're thinking, hey, we want to take it at age 67 or 70. That's why planning is so important. This is a good baseline, but this doesn't really give us any of the things about their situation that makes them unique. So we've got the Social Security penalty, which for Social Security, you often hear about the penalty, you hear about the tax. They're actually two separate things. And a lot of people conflate them, thinking they're one thing when they are not. So the penalty, what is the Social Security penalty? That is if you are working and you are below your full retirement age, if you are working and you are receiving Social Security. So if you're younger than age 67, you're working full-time and receiving Social Security, they are going to penalize you. And if you make more than $23,400 a year, that's when the penalty is going to kick in. It's $1 for every $2 you earn above that $23,000 amount. Most people who are working full-time are going to make significantly more than that. The penalty is going to take away any of the extra benefit you would have gotten. For most people below age 67 and working, you shouldn't be taking Social Security. It doesn't make sense. You're just giving it all away via the penalty. Now, once you get to age 67, that penalty goes away. In the year that you turn 67, before you are 67, the penalty is significantly reduced. Instead of being $23,400, it's $62,000. Also, instead of $1 being deducted for every $2 you make above that amount, it's $1 deducted for every $3 you make above that amount. Once you're 67, there's no penalty. Now, there is a Social Security tax. Again, that's different from the penalty. Here are the brackets. This is for any income. One of the questions is, what type of income is that for? Is that for my earned income? Is that for my income from my investment account? On the penalty, this only applies to your earned income. So money you made from a job. You don't get penalized for getting money from a pension and taking Social Security. However, with the Social Security tax, it is all taxable income. So that's any wages, any pension, any investment income, any of that counts towards this. Social Security, for the first 45 years of Social Security's existence, from 1940 to 1985, Social Security was no tax at all. Then in 1985, Congress, in accordance with the Reagan administration, decided to implement this tax. Now, if you look at these tax brackets here, married filing jointly, if you make more than $44,000 a year as a couple, then 85% of your Social Security is added to your taxable income for the year. The IRS says on its website, if you make a substantial income in retirement, you have to pay this tax. And then under substantial income, it says $44,000. Why is this bracket so low? $44,000, that's crazy. How many times do you think these brackets here have been adjusted for inflation since 1985? 0 times. So in 1985, that $44,000 was still $44,000, which is the equivalent of over $130,000 today. So back then, very few people paid Social Security tax. But because there's no mechanism to adjust it for inflation, we've now got a scenario where almost everybody pays tax on their Social Security. What's the problem? A lot of people overestimate how much they're actually going to be receiving in Social Security each month. Let's say you got a pension of $2,500 a month. Let's say you got Social Security of $2,500 a month. And let's say you're single filer. Congratulations, your Social Security is going to be taxed, which is going to reduce your Social Security. If you're banking on that $2,500 a month, but then after the taxes, you're only getting $2,000 a month, not even to talk about your Medicare getting taken out from there, you may go into retirement thinking that you're all set when it turns out you're not because of the taxes and the Medicare getting taken out. It's very important to get ahead of this and to ask yourself, what plan do you have for this? If you don't have a plan, feel free to click the link below and we'll be able to set up a free consultation to discuss that for you. Now, what we're looking at here is the actual results. We talk about hypotheticals, we talk about percentages. We want to talk about the actual dollar amounts. So here's a situation. This is a married couple. Married couple received $50,000 or was scheduled to receive $50,000 in Social Security benefits. Now, that's actually really not a lot. That's each couple receiving about $2,000 a month, or each person in the couple receiving $2,000 a month. It's about $50,000 a year. As we see here, 85% of their Social Security is being taxed, assuming they have a small pension or some investment income. That results in $10,500 being taxed from their Social Security, which means they're not getting $2,000 a month each. They're not getting $4,000 a month as a married couple. The actual amount they're getting is around $3,200 a month. An $800 a month reduction in Social Security can play a big part. Anybody who's watching this today, we implore you to get your Social Security maximization report. It's complimentary for anybody who watches this. It's about 10 to 20 pages, potential strategies you may have, alternate strategies for Social Security, tax implications, when you should take it. Another thing that comes into play with Social Security is the claiming strategy. So what we've talked about thus far is people claiming on their own records. So if you're a single filer, for the most part, you're going to be claiming on your own Social Security record. But if you're a married couple, that's not the case. There is something called the spousal benefit, where the spouse who is receiving less Social Security can elect to instead receive 50% of the other spouse's benefit. So when would this make sense? Let's say we have John and Jane. John is getting $3,000 a month in Social Security. Jade is getting $1,000 a month. Would it make sense for Jane to claim on her own record of $1,000 a month? No, it wouldn't. Jane should instead claim spousal on John's record, and she would get $1,500 a month. I had almost the same exact example not too long ago where I had a couple coming to me. They were showing their investment account saying, we just need $1,500 a month. Well, looked over their Social Security. The husband was getting $3,000 a month. The wife was getting $1,000 a month. I told them, if you claim correctly, you wouldn't need to be scrounging for this extra income right now because Jane would be receiving this extra $500 a month and we'd be peachy keen. But now, because of this, we got to figure out a way to draw income from your portfolio. All that is very important. All that is discussed in the Social Security Maximization Report. Next, my favorite topic, taxes and inflation. U.S. national debt levels, we all know it. National debt is rising at a precipitous pace. We're over $33 trillion now, and there's no sign that it's going to come down. Why is this a problem? It's a problem because how does the U.S. issue debt? It issues debt through bonds. It just issues treasury bonds, and then they have to pay interest on those bonds every year. The higher debt percentage, the higher money it costs to service that debt. So now you have $800 billion a year in debt you got to service, which we currently do right now. And then as that gets higher, you can get to the point where you have half the federal budget that is just debt, let alone all the other programs. You got to figure out how to raise revenue to pay that. The U.S. tax income to pay that. So what are the options to pay this debt off? There's three options. Option one, you can raise taxes. Option two, cut Social Security and Medicare. Those together make up about 50% of the federal budget. Option three, inflate away the debt. Just print. I want to ask anyone who's watching this, which of those is a good option? That's right. None of them are good options. So we've got to prepare for all three of those options because those are all three of the options that are commonly discussed. Secure Act of 2020, this initially increased the RMD starting age from 70 and a half to 72. RMD stands for Required Minimum Distribution. Anyone that has a traditional IRA, traditional 401k, traditional 403b, 457b, any of those plans, when you get to age either 73 or 75, the government is going to force you to start pulling money out of those accounts. Now, what happens when you pull that money out? It's taxable income. All of that is taxable income. Combine that with what we just talked about with the Social Security tax, one thing could lead to another where you pull out your RMD, that gives you a certain amount of taxable income. That puts you over the threshold for the Social Security tax. That's not even to talk about Social Security tax, then putting you over the threshold for IRMA, which stands for Income Related Monthly Adjustment Amount, which is the Medicare tax. Could be a pretty big problem if you don't have a plan, if you haven't prepared for it. RMDs begin at age 73. If you're born after January 1st, 1960, they begin at age 75 for you. There's a penalty if you don't take the RMD. If you don't take that distribution, they're not only going to make you still take that distribution in the next year, but then they're also going to force you to pay them a penalty of 25% on that distribution. If that distribution you missed was $10,000, now you're paying the government $2,500. How much will you even pay in taxes? Many overlook the impact of taxes on their portfolio, and they don't think about the growth trajectory of their portfolio. I'll give you an example. You're 60 years old. You got $500,000 in your portfolio. You got to start pulling that out at age 75, right? As long as you've invested correctly, that $500,000 is not likely to still be $500,000 in 15 years. That $500,000 is likely to be in the ballpark of $1.5 to $2 million. Now, you look at roughly, because the first year's RMD is 3.8, we'll call it 4% just for easy math. What's 4% of $2 million? It's $80,000 you got to take out. In addition to anything else you got, could be a pretty ugly scenario. So it's important to at least take a look at your situation and try to understand, can I get ahead of this time bomb? Because the longer you wait, the harder it becomes. There are two systems of tax, one for the informed, one for the uninformed. If you know what you're doing, there are ways to avoid some of these tax pitfalls, both for yourself when you leave your money to your beneficiaries. If you don't, it could create problems that last for the rest of your life, especially once you get to Medicare age and RMD age. So what we've got here is a QR code. Feel free at your own leisure, go ahead and scan this QR code, and there's a complimentary report. You can select whatever growth percentage you want, enter account information, and it'll give you a PDF of how much taxes you can expect to pay over your life due to your portfolio taxes. Now, where do experts think rates are going? In the short term, we have a pretty good idea that they're going to be lower for the income tax side. A lot of that is being replaced with tariffs, but the federal budget is still at a deficit, which means that problem is getting worse. Eventually, taxes are going to have to go up because there's going to be no other way for the U.S. to get that revenue. So for the next few years, taxes will be lower likely or stay at the same rate, but over the long term, taxes are going to have to go up. So what are our options? Number one, do nothing. Continue to defer, pay unknown taxes later. For some people, that's a good thing because if trying to fix your scenario would actually be costly, then yeah, it probably makes sense for you to do nothing. Or if you've got very small account sizes as it is, it's probably not going to make a difference either way. Option two is pay taxes now, lock in those rates. Option three is tax efficient planning options. Contributing to a Roth IRA, looking at converting from a traditional to a Roth, looking at some of the other tax-free options where it makes sense. And that's really what's most important, is figuring out what makes sense for your situation. So we're looking at inflation. Inflation's been a major issue, especially in the 2020s. in the United States. Let's say I have $50,000 in expenses. How long would it take for my $50,000 of expenses to become $100,000 of expenses? Does that make sense? So I've got same basket of goods. I'm buying the same items at the grocery store. How long until it costs me $100,000 instead of 50 to buy that same basket of goods? We're going to look at the variety of different inflation rates in years. So look up here, we got 6% inflation rate, which we had as recently as 2023. That only takes 12 years for cost to double. It's not a long time. Now the question is, do you have the income, do you have the inflation plan in place to make sure you can protect against that? Because the lower inflation rate you get, it becomes much less calamitous. But once you're at 4 or 6%, it can quickly become a major issue if you're not prepared for that. Is your current plan tax efficient? Does it factor in inflation? Do you even have a plan? So discussion on how the markets can affect your portfolio, your retirement, and everything we've been talking about. A bear market occurs anytime a given stock market index goes down 20%. So we'll talk about the S&P 500, which we'll refer to just as the market. So for the purposes of what we're talking about here today, anytime the S&P 500 or anytime the stock market goes down 20%, that's a bear market. You can have an idea of when they're coming, but you can never really predict anything because you can think, oh, it's coming soon, but that soon may be 5 years down the line. Or you may think it's 5 years down the line and then it hits right away. So I want to really point out an example. Look at number 9 on the screen, March of 2000. So we're going to look at an example of someone who retired in January of 2000. The computers didn't shut down and destroy society. Everything's going good. But then all of a sudden, March of 2000, the dot-com bubble bursts. From March of 2000 until September of 2001, which is a pretty long time, that's about 18 months, 546 days, the market goes down 36% in that time frame. Not a great start to retirement. Your investments are down quite a bit. Things aren't really going well. But then we recover, September of 2001, start to recover. We got a good couple months. And then January of 2002, it starts to go down again. That lasts for 9 months, goes down another 33%. We've had a pretty rough 2 year. Remember, we retired in January of 2000. After 2 years, we've had a pretty rough retirement so far. We start this climb back up. 2004, 2005, things are starting to feel really good. I've got this nice new house. What could go wrong? And then 2007 hits. The economy, the market collapses. The market goes down even further, down 52% roughly in that time period. Then we recover a little bit from November of 08 to January of 09. Then it starts again. Remember, we retired in 2000. And right here, we're at 2009 and we're still down. From 2000 to 2010, do you know roughly the person who invested in the market was down at that period? 2000, 2010. It's a 10-year period. You would have been down about 12%. Right? That doesn't even take into account any money you've been withdrawing from your portfolio to fund your living expenses. Are you prepared for this? Do you have a plan in place to make sure that no matter what the market does, your retirement is secure? If you had $100 and you lost 20%, how much do you have now? You have $80, right? So we had 100, we lost 20%, we've got $80. Now let's say on that 80, we make 20% now. How much do we have? We don't have 100, we have 96. So you lost 20%, you gained 20%, but you're still not back to even. That's not the way math works. For every 20% you lose, you have to gain back 25% just to get back to even. The more you lose, the bigger that difference in what you've lost and what you have to gain back. The solution is to make sure you've got protection in your portfolio and making sure you're not taking those major losses really above 15, 20. Do you have that plan? Do you have any protection in your portfolio? So the key thing here is get your retirement income plan reviewed. Click the link, sign up for a complimentary consultation. We'd be willing to talk to you for 30 minutes, go over your situation, see if we can be a resource for you, and then we can talk about how we can help. What you should expect from your financial professional. And get nothing. Really, what you should expect, your financial professional should understand your needs, should really be collaborating to show you that they're understanding your situation, what you need. Should be meeting with your financial professional at least quarterly. You should have a written retirement plan. You have questions, open that up. Oh yeah, that's right. This is our plan. This is when we're claiming Social Security. This is our tax plan. This is how we're investing. So taking the next steps, make sure to schedule your complimentary review, get your Social Security report, get your tax report, and then we'll really go from there. Just want to thank you all for coming today. It's been a pleasure helping to educate you all. If you have any other questions, concerns, thoughts, visit our website. You can give us a call, shoot me an email, and then we can go from there. For Tyler Nowotny, have a great rest of your day. Congratulations, you've made it to the end of the video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. If you have any questions about your investments, retirement, or any of your goals, click the link in the description and schedule a free consultation with our offices.